Today I'm going to show you how to change the transmission filter on a 1993 Chevy van. It's the G20. It has the 4.3 V6 in it. So, okay, as you can see, we already have it jacked up, and we have a block on there just to be safe. It's not the best of things, but it's secure. And then, so we're going to need a few things here. So, we have a slipping transmission in this. So we're going to put in some stop slip, some Lucas stop slip with some transmission treatment and some the regular transmission fluid. So first of all, in order to change the transmission filter, we're going to need, I'm using a 13 millimeter socket, and we're going to need to change the, we're going to need to take off the crossbar in there. So in order to do that, we're going to need a 15 millimeter, which is the center bolt, and we're going to need a 19 millimeter, which is going to be on both sides. We have the wrench here to hold the other side so it doesn't move. We have the new filter and new gasket right here. We have the funnel, and we have the scraper thing. That's about all the tools we're going to need for this. And we have the thing to catch the oil under there. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Okay, here we are underneath. Here is the transmission the fluid filter pan right there. So that's where all those bolts there. And then we have the crossbar assembly right here, which is preventing us from getting to all these bolts. So we're going to have to take this off right there, which will be these bolts here, like that right there, which is a 19 millimeter, one on each side, as you can see over there. And then we have the middle one right there, the center bolt. We will just remove them, and then we'll be able to get to the bolts. Okay, here we go. Okay, when you remove this cross member here that's holding up the transmission, you want to make sure you have something holding up the transmission so that the transmission does not come down. You don't want that to fall. You just want to make sure it's jacked up like that, and then then you can remove these 3 bolts. All right, now we have the crossbar off, and the transmission is jacked up. It's not jacked up, but it's just being held in place. Now, when we start unbolting it, you're gonna want to unbolt it one, 2, and then go back to the other side like that, and then go to the other side over there, and then back over to this side again, and back over to that side again. Now you're gonna want to start with the front and loosen those first, and go slowly around. Now, when you do this, you're gonna want to drain the oil, the transmission fluid, to the front. Okay. All right. Okay. We have the crossbar removed, and the engine or the transmission is being held up with a jack, and we're going to remove the bolts. We're going to start with the corner and go one at a time. We're going to go back and forth. So this one, then that one, and then that one, and then this one, and then this one, and then that one, just back and forth like that. And we're going to work our way around, starting with the front. As you can see, we've got the bolts loosened up, and the oil is starting to come out. We've got our oil pan down here, where the fluid is starting to come out. We're just loosening these here up a little bit, and it's coming out just the way we wanted it to, in the front area only, and straight into our pan. So we're going to keep loosening the bolts, and then we're going to tip it and make sure all the oil comes out as best we can, and then I'll go straight into the pan. Alright, we've loosened up all 16 bolts, and we've taken a few of them out in the front, and we're going to work our way around and make sure this transmission fluid goes where we want it to, because we are in control here. Straight into our pan. Alright, let's do it. And there she flows. Just let that right there drain out, right there into the pan, and then we'll take the rest of the bolts off and take it off slowly and make sure all the transmission fluid gets right where we want it to, right into that pan. Alrighty. Alright, we got it off. Got the pan off, and everything went just as planned. And there's our filter right there. So we're just going to pop that off. We're going to clean up around it here, around the edge and everything, and clean up on the edge in the oil pan, or the transmission fluid pan. And then we should be good to go. So let's go ahead and take that filter off there, and we'll get everything cleaned up and ready to go. All right, now the oil filter popped right off of there. It was very easy on this one, luckily. And as you can see, the seal, the little seal that's around it, it came off with it, which is good. Sometimes they don't. If they don't, you might just have to take a little screwdriver or something and pop it out. But this time we was lucky and it just came right off with it. So I just wanted to let y'all know that sometimes this seal right here does come off and stay inside of there. If it does that, you could just easily get it out with a little screwdriver or something. But there's the filter. And okay, and the outside gasket came off pretty nicely too. We're gonna get all that cleaned up and everything, and get it all replaced. All right, here's the old filter on the old gasket right here, and as you can see, this transmission fluid is pretty bad off, and it's pretty gunked up right here on the magnet and everything. We're gonna get all this right here cleaned up, and so here's the new filter and the new gasket. But apparently the new gasket did not come with a seal right here, so it looks like we're gonna have to use the old one. Shouldn't be a problem. All right, well, that's what we're gonna have to do. So we're gonna get this right here all cleaned up and get it replaced. All right, here we go. Here we go. So we got the pan right here, the old pan, and we're getting it all cleaned up. I'm just gonna shine it all up like this right here, and we're gonna use a wire brush and get it all around the edges and everything like that, and get this baby shining like a diamond. And then we're gonna clean up the bottom, clean up everything all around. We're gonna make sure there's that all these right here is completely flat. Sometimes when people, if you over torque it, sometimes you could bend it a little bit. And what we'll do is, if that happens, we'll take anyway, I got a hammer somewhere. I'll show you that in a minute. Okay. All right, kill it. All right, so we have the transit fluid pan here. We have it all cleaned up, inside and out. It's all nice and shined up. Around the perimeter here and all the bolt holes, it all looks really good. Okay, so, and here we have the new gasket. We want to keep that nice and clean and dry. We don't want to. We want to make sure there's no oil left on there and everything. We want to make sure that's nice and dry. We have the new filter right here, and the little gasket that goes around it here that seals it up. Okay, so this one here is the 16. This one here has 16 bolts. It fits perfectly. And here is the filter part, the part number for the filter for the 1993 Chevy van, which is the G20 model that has the V6 with the 4.3 liter. Here is the part number. The part number is right here. It is FK252. So that's the part number. That's the filter part number for the transmission for the 1993 Chevy van G20. So now that we got all this cleaned up, we're going to go ahead and put it back on. All right, so let's do that. All right, so now in the van right now, we're having problems with the transmission. It's slipping. So we're going to use some Lucas stop slip. Okay, but instead of trying to put it down through the dipstick hole, which is how they would normally do it, it's going to be too much trouble. It's going to take too long and be too hard. Back pressure and everything, it's just going to be too much. So what we're going to do is we're going to show you a little trick. All right. Well, anytime if you're changing the filter and you want to put some transmission slip in there, some stop slip, Lucas, we're just going to put it directly into the pan. So I'm going to show you how to do this. Okay. This is going to be so much easier. See how thick that is? That's going to take all day long to get into to go down to the dipstick. We're just going to dump it straight into the pan. Now, any mechanic who's ever tried to put it down to the dipstick will tell you that it's hard. It takes all day. It's hard to get it to go down and everything. This is going to be a way easier way to do this. We're going to go ahead and put in 2 bottles, and we're going to get this baby back in action. All right. Now that we've got it all in there, we're going to carefully take it over there, and we're just going to pop it right up into the transmission and bolt it up. All right. Go ahead and cut. All right. Now we're back under here in the transmission, and we're going to clean all this up around the around there before we put it all back together. All right, we've got it all cleaned up, nice and clean all around the whole gasket area. We did not wipe this area. We did not wipe this part down because it's taking chances of getting little fibers and stuff like that into the transmission. Now we don't want to clean all that. We're just gonna let the transmission or the filter do its job. Okay. So here we have the new filter right here. We got the gasket on there, and we're gonna go ahead and pop it right there into the hole. And just pop that in there. Okay, now that that's done, we're going to put the pan on. Okay. All right, now we got the pan up and we got all the bolts started. Now, anytime you're putting in a new filter on a transmission, this goes for any transmission, you want to make sure that you put all the bolts in at the same time. Meaning that you want to get them all started. You want to put the bolts into the pan through the gasket. The gasket will hold the bolts in place. And then you make sure all the bolts are in the pan through the gasket. And then you put the pan up. Then you put the pan up onto the transmission. And you hold it with one hand and you start the bolts with the other. And you want to make sure that all the bolts are getting started at the same time. You know, because if you try to do if you put one bolt in at a time and tighten it up, and then put another bolt in and tighten it up, it'll put it in a bind every time. So you want to make sure that all the bolts are through the gasket on the pan, and you want to put it up there and get them started all at the same time. You never want to put one bolt in and then try to put another bolt in like that, because that will not work. All right, now we got the training fluid pan bolted up, and now we're just going to snug them all up with the wrench. Now, anytime you're doing this, you want to make sure that you want to hold your hand down here, not at the end of the ratchet like this. You don't want to over torque it like that. So the best way to do that, if you don't have a torque wrench, is you want to just hold the wrench like this right here, and then you want to snug them down like that. So as you can see here, we're only going to put it on hand tight like this right here, but not using the end of the wrench. You don't put your hand at the end of the wrench, you put it right here. Sometimes people will do that and they'll over tighten it because they don't want it to leak, but actually that's what causes it to leak. So you just keep your hand right here like this and tight like that. All right, we got the transmission pan back on, and we got the crossbar bolted back on, and so we're gonna go put some oil in here. Let's get it, dude. All right, we've got all the fluid in here and everything. We've put about 4.5 quarts. I believe it takes 5. But we're gonna start that up and let it run for about 20 seconds. Get all up in the torque converter and everywhere it needs to go. While we wait to hydrate. Stealth Cracker can tell you all about that. That's my boy right there.
Absolutely, man. You gotta hit it up. You gotta hit it up while you're doing your job.
Yep. All right.
That's right.
Fire it up and get this stuff running again. All right, like I said before, okay, we got a slipping transmission in this fan. So we've already put 2 of these right here bottles of stop slip. We put it directly into the transmission pan. So next, we're going to add some automatic transmission fluid conditioner. It extends automatic transmission life. We're going to go ahead and put a bottle of that right there in there. Then we're going to put a couple of bottles of, you want to use Dextron 6. That's what this fan calls for. Okay, for the B6 4.3 liter.
You can get away with Dextron 3, but Dextron 6 is what's made for it.
Nothing lower than that. I think they quit making Dextron 1. So anyway, we're using Dextron 6, so let's get with it. Oh, this right here is for me. Well, that's not for the car. All right, we got all the transmission fluid and everything that we need to go in there. We've got her right where she needs to be. So we got her all cherried out and purring like a kitten. And so that sums it up today for the do-it-yourself transmission filter and transmission fluid change on the 1993 Chevy G20 with van with the it's got with the V6 4.3 liter. So that sums it up. You can do it yourself. Take a shot at it. Have a good day.